It's so great to be with you all. I was delighted to come out, but I did not want to follow Nicki Minaj, okay? I told her backstage I almost wore that coat today, and I'm so glad that I didn't. Really, it is such a great privilege to join you all today. It's great to be with an extraordinary group of visionaries, people who care so much about this country and about its future. And it's a really broad and diverse coalition, and that's what's so exciting about this. It's so many people have come together because we all care about the same things. We care about our children, we care about working families, and we care about the future of this extraordinary country. It is no small thing to get such a large group excited about tax policy, Mr. Secretary, so we don't take that for granted. It doesn't happen very often. When President Trump returned to office, we were all very excited. We were excited to get going. We wanted to chart America's renewal. And we didn't waste a moment in that, as you know. The Republican-led Congress got right to work. We worked to steer this country of ours back toward common sense and to undo all of the damage that was really wrought by the 4 years of Bidenomics. We had a lot to fix. As you know, we inherited a real mess. The unmitigated crisis at our border was the #1 issue in the 2024 election because we had to correct that. But it was also the economy. And decades-high inflation was fueled by failures of Bidenomics. And it was a serious problem for all American families. 4 long years we had to endure that. The only solutions offered during that time were by the Biden administration, the Democrats in charge. They wanted another government program. They wanted another federal agency. They wanted more taxes and more government spending. And I am here to declare to you today what you have all seen demonstrated. Those days are now behind us, and we are so grateful for that. Yes. Republicans are ushering in a new golden era, a new golden age, and this is certainly true. It's driven not by more government, but by the talent and the ingenuity and the industriousness of the American people. And that's at the very heart of what we are celebrating here today. Now, I want to tell you that what we got done in the first year of the Trump administration was a remarkable thing. I think history will record that it was one of the most productive years of any new administration or Congress, certainly in the modern era, and I think it's in the top 5 of all time if you look back at history. And people are going to see and feel the effects of that now. The Working Families Tax Cut was such a transformational, nation-shaping piece of legislation. There was so much in it. There was so much to share about it. But with one big, beautiful bill, we simplified the tax code, we reduced the tax burden on families, and we advanced a policy agenda that puts working families first. And during this tax season, which starts this week, tens of millions of Americans are going to see the effects of that, bigger paychecks and bigger tax refunds. We wrote this legislation for small business owners and for lower and middle income families, the very people who suffered the most during the Biden years. It's with these Americans in mind that the Trump accounts was born. You've heard so much about it today, and I don't want to reiterate all the facts, but there are some exciting things here. At the very heart of this policy is the goal of putting young Americans back in the driver's seat of their own destinies and opportunities at an early age. Good government policy empowers the individual, and it nurtures and encourages the best of human ingenuity and human progress. That's exactly what the Trump accounts aim to do. With this historic new savings tool, more Americans will be saving, investing, and building a solid financial footing. And as you've been told, Trump accounts will come online on July 5th, I think poetically, just a day after we celebrate our 250th birthday, the 250th birthday of the greatest nation in the history of the world. And I like to remind groups all the time, everywhere I am, don't take that for granted. We live in the greatest nation in history. It's the most free, most successful, most powerful, most benevolent nation that has ever been. And America's 250, our anniversary that we celebrate this year, is a chance for all Americans to celebrate and recommit to the founding principles that made all that possible, the principles upon which our nation was built. Among those principles is the belief in the free market, the belief in individual responsibility and financial stewardship, the belief that everybody gets a shot, and the simple but powerful idea that if you work hard and play by the rules, you can improve the standing of your family in 1 generation. Our goal with Trump accounts was to put those foundational ideas back in focus, particularly for the millions of middle and working class Americans who have felt those ideas. They felt for the last several years that the American dream itself was slipping further and further beneath their grasp. And we've heard, for those who opt in, as we've heard today, the Trump accounts have the potential to help children accrue tens of thousands of dollars by the time they reach adulthood. And that could make the difference in so many lives when it comes to paying for college or buying their first home or starting their own business. What an extraordinary concept, and what a fitting way to invest in America's future as we celebrate 250 years since our nation was born. Trump accounts are a truly transformational piece of policy that can change the lives of every American, and the beauty of this is it has nothing to do with your race or religion or color or creed. It's for everybody. It is now my distinct honor to introduce somebody who has truly been a godsend to this administration and to our country. And I say this all the time, not just when he's backstage. But President Trump will no doubt have a long list of legacy items that history will record, but I think one of his best decisions so far, and I know you agree, was selecting this next gentleman to serve in this crucially important position. And truth be told, we would not have gotten the working families tax cuts, the big beautiful bill, so much of our economic agenda accomplished without his wisdom and his steady hand of leadership. Without further ado, I am very happy to introduce to you today our extraordinary Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Rockstar. All you.
Good, and I just have to say today that in November of 2024, when President Trump asked me to be Treasury Secretary, one thing I was sure that was not on my dance card was doing a TikTok video with Nicki Minaj. This morning, I told my daughter as I was leaving, I said, I was with the President on Air Force One last night. She said, yeah, that's great. And I said, I'm going to be hanging out with Nicki Minaj today. They got her attention. So, good. But Speaker Johnson, thank you for the kind introduction. And it was an honor to work with you. It's an honor to be here with all of you today. Donald Trump will be remembered for many things. The president who enacted the largest tax cut in history for American citizens, the president who rebalanced global trade to the benefit of working families, the president who, through simple common sense, saved our country by securing the border. In short, the president who made America great again. In my mind, arguably his most enduring legacy, the program that will not only transform lives now, but ripple across generations, is why we're here today. History will remember President Trump as a leader who brought financial market opportunity to all American families. It will remember him as a president who oversaw the largest merger in history between Main Street and Wall Street. It will remember him for redefining the social contract through the creation of a shareholder society. And how did he achieve all this? Through Trump accounts. Trump accounts are amongst the most significant policy innovations of modern times. They mark a singular moment in economic history by expanding the benefits of private ownership and compound growth to all Americans. Today, I will explain where Trump accounts came from, how they work, and why they will render socialist notions moot by making every American citizen a shareholder. First, the origin story. The idea of opening investment accounts for young Americans first arose in the form of baby bonds decades ago. But the idea was flawed because the accounts could be invested only in U.S. government bonds. President Trump recognized the shortcoming of this idea while also grasping its promise, so he set out to perfect it. Working with some of the most talented businessmen in the country, including Brad Gerstner and Michael Dell, he pioneered Trump accounts, investment accounts that newborn Americans can receive on day one. Trump accounts allow for private ownership, multiple funding pathways, and direct investment across a broad swath of the American economy. Where President Trump's predecessors created debt and dependency, President Trump always insists every day on creating assets and expanding ownership to the American people. This is a signature characteristic of his presidency. With Trump accounts, every American child born between January 1, 2025 and December 31, 2028 is eligible to receive a $1,000 seed contribution from the Treasury Department that will immediately be invested in an index fund. To claim this investment, most families need merely check a box on Form 4547, the most aptly named tax document of all time. We are just 3 days into the 2026 tax filing season, and already approximately 600,000 American families have elected to open a Trump account for their children. The compound growth from Treasury's initial seed funding alone stands to make young Americans wealthy. Assuming historical growth rates continue, a single $1,000 deposit into a Trump account at birth should grow to an estimated amount of at least $500,000 by the age of retirement. The $1,000 seed from Treasury is exclusive to newborns, but keep in mind that any American below the age of 18 is also eligible to receive a tax-advantaged Trump account to begin saving for the future. Philanthropists, family, friends, employers, and states can backfill Trump accounts for these children to help them build a strong financial foundation before graduating from high school. Our objective is to provide every American child with a Trump account, and the men and women in this audience will help make that possible. In addition to the $1,000 seed from Treasury, there are 3 other channels for funding Trump accounts. First, through the donations of parents, friends, and employers. Second, through the generous donations of wealthy Americans and philanthropic organizations. And third, through donations from state governments. President Trump wanted to make it especially easy for family, friends, and employers to give to Trump accounts, and he has succeeded in that goal. Donations to a Trump account will soon be the best gift a child could ever receive. Starting July 4th, our nation's 250th anniversary, family, friends, and employers will be able to contribute up to $5,000 to each Trump account each year. By contributing the maximum amount annually, the Council of Economic Advisors estimates that a child's Trump account could be worth more than $1 million at age 28 and tens of millions by the age of retirement. Donations from employers are essential to bringing the president's vision to life. Already, we have seen a large number of U.S. businesses across a wide range of industries step up to support Trump accounts. Companies like Charles Schwab, Uber, Charter Communications, Bank of New York Mellon, State Street, MasterCard, Visa, Block, Robinhood, SoFi, Chime, Russell Investments, and Dell Technologies have all announced they will match employee contributions to Trump accounts in a variety of forms that work best for the employees. And just today, Steak and Shake, Broadcom, Intel, IBM, JP Morgan, Chipotle, Coinbase, and Comcast all announced that they will offer matching contributions as well. The president foresees a day where matching contributions to Trump accounts will be as integral to an employee benefits package as a matching 401k. Through Trump accounts, our president is putting the American dream within the reach of every citizen, no matter the circumstances at birth. When young Americans turn 18, they can use their Trump accounts to keep saving for their retirement, or they can use them to help purchase a new home or further their education, 2 hallmarks of the American dream. The next means of funding is through generous donations from wealthy Americans and charitable organizations. Consider how Trump accounts are revolutionizing not only investing, but philanthropy as well. We in the United States are the most generous country in the history of the world. In 2024 alone, our citizens gave $500 billion to charity. That's more than the GDP of advanced countries like Singapore, Austria, and the UAE. Many Americans want to give back to their fellow citizens through charitable donations, but our country has long lacked a platform of private ownership from birth that facilitated philanthropy at scale direct to American children. Not anymore. Trump accounts are the most capital-efficient form of philanthropy ever devised. Typically, middlemen, overhead costs, and administrative expenses dilute the money Americans donate to charity. But Trump accounts remove those obstacles entirely to put money directly in the hands of America's children. And that's why America's savviest capital allocators have devoted enormous sums of wealth to further seeding Trump accounts. Michael and Susan Dell led the way by pledging an incredible $6.25 billion of their own money to help fund Trump accounts for 25 million children under the age of 10. Ray and Barbara Dalio then followed suit by pledging $75 million to help fund Trump accounts for more than 300,000 children in Connecticut. The Dalios were among the first to join the 50-state challenge, a special initiative Treasury has launched to rally the nation's philanthropists around a common cause. And just today, we heard from Brad Gerstner that he will be adopting or funding 5-year-olds in his home state of Indiana. And we heard from great philanthropist Harold Hamm that he will be doing the same in Oklahoma. So, for all of you in the audience, keep your cell phones on because we intend to have all 50 states crisscrossed by July 4th. As the President said today, the 50-state challenge is a crucial element of this revolutionary program. We expect to see more philanthropists adopting states in the months to come as we get to the launch on July 4th. The final way of funding Trump accounts is through state governments. This administration has been closely working with a number of governors to determine the best way states can work with the federal government to expand access to Trump accounts to as many children as possible. States are the laboratories of our democracy, and their experiments with Trump accounts will surface the best methods for funding over time. At their core, Trump accounts represent the triumph of capitalism over socialism. Socialism left in its wake a trail of economic ruin, all in the pursuit of the belief that abolishing private ownership would lead to greater equality and human flourishing. In fact, the opposite has been proven true. The last century of economic history showed us that the answer was never to abolish private ownership, it was to democratize it, to protect, strengthen, and expand it to as many people as possible so that everyone can benefit from the prosperity that only capitalism can provide. Trump accounts do exactly that. They collapse the distinction between earners and owners by making everyone an owner, all while keeping ownership private. In the decades-long contest between capitalism and socialism, this is the Trump card. Through Trump accounts, our president is creating an ownership economy where all citizens become shareholders in today's American economic machine. Today, 32% of American adults do not own stocks. But with Trump accounts over time, we can get that number to 0. I've talked in the past about the importance of parallel prosperity, an era of economic expansion where Wall Street and Main Street grow together. But the beauty of Trump accounts is that prosperity no longer runs parallel. it fuses together. Under Trump account, Wall Street's success becomes Main Street's success, and vice versa. This is the greatest merger in world history, the merger of Wall Street and Main Street, and it will forever change the relationship Americans have with their own economy. Trump accounts represent a fundamental redefinition of the social contract. They offer a radically new platform that returns us to a social contract anchored in individual ownership where everyone starts on a life journey of investing. Trump accounts also create a real-time laboratory of financial literacy for all Americans. An alarming statistic: approximately 2/3 of Generation Z Americans fail to answer more than half of the basic financial literacy questions on the nation's personal finance index. We need to better educate the generations of Americans being born now. Trump accounts will give us an opportunity to correct course by instilling financial literacy in America's youth in a way no book, test, or school curriculum could. And I foresee a time around the kitchen table where parents and children sit down and review these accounts together, a lifetime of learning. Trump accounts will achieve this goal by providing students with a hands-on education in the power of compound growth. Students with Trump accounts will be able to watch their investment accounts compound in real time from a value of a couple of $1,000s in kindergarten to potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. Importantly, students will not be able to access their accounts during this time. Keeping accounts locked until age 18 will require Americans to learn the art of long-term savings and compound growth. States, philanthropists, and charitable organizations can also tie funding of individual Trump accounts to students passing financial literacy courses. This flexibility creates space for states, philanthropies, and educators to innovate and identify what works best in building financial skills. 3 pillars of America's social contract are embedded in the Declaration of Independence. We all know life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Few know that Jefferson borrowed this phrase from John Locke, who famously underscored the centrality of life, liberty, and property. Property and the pursuit of happiness, in other words, are deeply intertwined, and for our founding fathers, they were one and the same. Property, or put another way, ownership is essential to dignity and human flourishing. This was the idea of our nation when it was founded in 1776, and is the idea of our nation being refounded in 2026. In that sense, Trump accounts are the defining policy of America's 250th anniversary. By expanding equity ownership to all citizens, President Trump is restoring the promise of our founding fathers, revitalizing the social contract, and helping secure American prosperity for the next 250 years. All families can participate and own part of the American dream. And with your help, we will succeed. Whether you're a philanthropist, a family member, or an employer, all of you here will play a critical role in this effort. So join us in growing economic opportunity, future-proofing capitalism, and carrying the promise of the founding fathers forward to the next century. Join us by investing in Trump accounts. Thank you all for being here today.